Good morning. Happy Monday. Monday, what a great day to talk about emotional eating. I know this is early and I'm excited if you are catching the replay. If you're not here live, will you drop a heart down below? Let me know that you're watching the replay so we can talk about it more in the group. But I know without fail, emotional eating applies to everyone. Male, female, adult, kid, grandma, infant, whatever. Okay, maybe not infant. But emotional eating is when we tend to go towards food as our soothing mechanism, as our coping mechanism. So this is when we may not be physically hungry, but we are feeling some other set of emotions, whether that's anxiousness, stress, it could be sadness, loneliness. It could even be emotional from the excitement side of things. Maybe you just got great news at work, you got a promotion, or your daughter's having a baby. Whatever that is, maybe that is when we are looking for that soothing, that comfort mechanism, and we turn to food. Unfortunately, emotional eating always carries repercussions. So most of the time that is the repercussion of feeling guilty afterwards, knowing that it wasn't necessarily the best choice because we weren't physically hungry. So we've talked about those 5 types of hunger, and then emotional eating does fall into that. So I'm going to ask you some questions, and you guys can give me an emoji below if any of these apply to you. So pick your favorite emoji and be ready to answer these questions. So this is to find out if you are an emotional eater. All right, do you eat between meals even when you're not physically hungry? Anybody? Give me a little emoji on that. If you eat between meals and you're eating on autopilot, for example, maybe you had a tinge of physical hunger, but you go to get out the blue corn chips, I'm speaking from experience, and all of a sudden you're at the end of the bag and you don't remember anything in between or really what you were thinking about, kind of that mindless eating. Give me an emoji if mindless eating happens to you. All right, here's a big one. When something upsetting happens to you, do you reach for the nearest bag of cookies to make yourself feel better? And maybe cookies aren't your jam. Maybe it's ice cream or something else sweet. How about this one? Do you fantasize about foods that are considered special treats in your mind, such as chocolate or kettle chips or sweet popcorn, something like that? And when you eat these treats, okay, give me another emoji if this applies to you. When you eat these treats, do you hide out and eat them by yourself because you're embarrassed to eat them in front of someone else? Or maybe you have a secret stash that you only eat when everyone's out of the house. If you answered yes to any of these above, more than 2 of these above, you might be considered an emotional eater. Now, there's a difference between someone who eats occasionally from emotional stressors or things like that, and someone who has a habit of emotional eating. Let's remember what we do in this group. There is no judgment and no shame in that, but it's great to identify patterns because kind of like Alana teaches us, is it habit or are you truly hungry? Emotional eating is much the same way. We might have formed a habit of emotional eating over the years. Remember the statistic we talked about. Most women have dieted for 25 years of their life. So it's possible that you have developed a habit of emotional eating. So here's what I want to challenge you to think about. When you are not physically hungry, I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath, and ask yourself this question: what am I feeling and why? Okay, what am I feeling and why? And what do I need right now? What do I really need right now besides food? And I'll give you a hint. It's oftentimes a break from what you're doing. It's a chance to walk away, to regroup, to recenter. And I'm gonna give you some healthy alternatives to being in that pattern, to being stuck in that pattern, okay? So 3 emotional states that are probably the most common, and you might resonate with these, I know I do, are sadness, anxiety, and anger. Those for women oftentimes are when we turn to food as our comfort most readily. Okay, so that might be, when people are trying to quell boredom. Think about that mindless snacking while you're eating TV. Maybe it's a reward. Maybe something like outside of those emotions, maybe it's a reward. So you go to a birthday party and you feel like you're at that festive emotional occasion, you need to eat that birthday cake. Or maybe it's a reward for something you've done physically. For example, I just ran 7 miles, so I'm gonna reward myself by eating a Hershey bar. So those are all types of emotional eating, but most of it stems from sadness, anger, or anxiety, okay? So let's talk about those 3 pieces and unwrap them a little bit. So sad eating is when maybe something devastating hits, heartbreak hits. I've shared with a lot of you last year when my mom died, that would have been a period prior to this that sadness eating might have taken over because there was a lot of sadness, and it was comforting to eat comforting foods, right? There is a feedback loop. It does have a chemical trigger. The dopamine is released in your brain. We won't go down that path today, but had I not learned some of these coping techniques, sadness eating would have really taken effect, right? Loneliness eating. That's something that I've wrestled with a bit this past year. My husband travels probably 75% with his job, so often I am a single mom. So there's a lot of loneliness time built into my day. So some of that, you know, what we tell ourselves is a little bit of sweetness to the sorrow, right? A little bit of chocolate can help that drown our sorrow. You've heard that expression, drown our sorrows, right? So, but before you know it, you're caught in this perpetual cycle that's difficult to escape. When you eat because you're sad, you tend to overeat because there's no break in that sadness, okay? This can lead to a little bit of a what the heck attitude, right? Like I'll start over on Monday, or you know what, I fell off the wagon. How many times do we tell ourselves that in the past? We fell off the wagon, so we'll start again another time. And that increases the chance of doing the same thing again for sadness. So I want you to think about some ways to break that cycle. So here are 3 alternatives to break sadness eating, okay? The first one is to express yourself. So when melancholy strikes, when that sadness comes, when those waves of emotion come up for you, call somebody, talk to somebody, get out a journal, write, use your tracker, note in there what's causing that sadness. Remember, we have the power in this group to be detectives, right? We have this power to start to see patterns and uncover them and make changes to those patterns. I think writing, particularly pencil to paper, can be so cathartic, and there is actually a lot of research that talks about that. Again, won't go through that right now, but write. Put it in your journal, put it in your tracker. Number 2, move, get out moving. You can really do a lot by increasing endorphins in your body, changing the environment, getting outside. I love to go outside if I'm sad, to be in nature, even if it's a gray day, to take off my shoes, to walk in the grass, to be part of that, okay? 30 minutes of any sort of exercise can really boost the mood. It does not have to be Orange Theory. It can be doing some movement on Beachbody On Demand. It could be going for a walk with your dog, okay? It could be, honestly, you could set some happy music on your phone and do a power clean of the house, okay? That's healthy movement. All right, number 3, give yourself permission to let it out, all right? And I mean by this, not like let it out, like go off the deep end. I mean, light some candles, take a hot bath, listen to sad music, cry. And I love the thought of crying until you run out of tears. I had a coaching call with a client. This was right around New Year's, and I asked her, how was your New Year's? Like, did you do anything fun? And she said, I spent 3 hours in the bathtub crying. And at first I was like, holy smokes, are you okay? And then I realized she was doing something so incredibly powerful for herself. She was empowered. She had some stuff going on with her dad, and she just cried it out. And she didn't run from the emotion. She was kind of in this captive space, in a safe place to really feel. That may scare you, and I don't want to scare you, but I want you to allow yourself to feel sad. Those emotions are there for a reason. They can be your teachers, okay? You can also put on headphones, you can turn up the music, you can punch pillows, I used to tell my kids to get a baseball bat and go hit a tree. Something that's constructive. Remember, we want to be productive, not destructive in our habits. So those are some great ways to work through sadness. That's often an emotion that we are not equipped to handle. All right, what about anxiety or stress eating? These are huge. We live in a very stressful culture. I had a client one time who was here locally, and she said, I don't really feel like, good morning, Jenny. I don't really feel like I have a lot of stress in my life. And I said, girlfriend, you live in Atlanta. You have kids and you're married. You have stress in your life. So stress and anxiety are things that even if you don't sense them on a daily basis or maybe have been clinically diagnosed, that's not important. What's important is that we need to identify them and relieve them. Research points out, and I just want to share this with you, that distress increases the intake of specific foods, particularly those that are high in fat, sugar, or both. Think about that. What do you crave when you are stressed out? It's not typically kale. You're not reaching for the celery. So an excessive intake of these types of highly palatable foods shares similarities with the effects on the brain and behavior seen with some drugs of abuse, according to research published in the Journal of Nutrition. But the point of that is, it is a lot like, you've heard about that, like stress and anxiety eating can be a lot like a drug addict going for a hit of something. All right, so what are some healthy alternatives to stress and anxiety eating? This is when you can go to stick to a regular sleep routine. Sleep, we talk a lot about sleep in here, but sleep is often something that when you get enough sleep, not only are you not craving foods during the day, and when I say enough sleep, absolutely above 6 hours, ideally closer to 8 or more, okay? So that's really good sleep. If you're not sleeping well because you're stressed, that can result in poor food choices. And if you remember back to when we talked about the 5 stages, the 5 types of hunger, remember sleep deprivation hunger? That was that last one. When you're sleep deprived, you crave carbohydrates, right? Your body wants that instant energy. You're going for those carbohydrates, and back up to what I just read about the research, you're probably going for carbs that are laden with fat and sugar. Think donuts, think pizza, think things like that. You're also, the sensors in your body, remember ghrelin, which is that hunger hormone, is off the charts. You're hungry all day, and your leptin hormone is way down. That's the one that lets you know that you're full. Okay, so sleep is so important. Those poor food choices aren't going to help your stress and anxiety, right? It's going to make that feedback loops stronger. So if you get insufficient sleep for a couple of nights, you're going to be prone to stress and anxiety. So really ramp up on your sleep, ramp up on those FFCs, the fiber-filled carbohydrates that are going to leave you full and satisfied and allow you to sleep better, okay? So also do something relaxing and calming. That's another tip. Remember the tips that we've talked about on breathing. I don't know if you saw the video I did on putting a little peppermint oil in your palm with a little citrus oil, rubbing them together, holding them out. Breathe in, hold at the top for 5. Breathe out, hold at the bottom for 5. Do that 5 or 6 times. That brings your whole parasympathetic nervous system back into control, calms your whole body down. You can teach your kids this. It's amazing, okay? There's also another breathing technique. It's left nostril breathing. So I don't know if the camera's backwards, but this is my left nostril. I'm gonna hold my right one in, hold it like that, and just breathe in and breathe out. Hold it in. You can do that on an airplane if you're stressed out. I have a lot of airplane anxiety, so I do that a lot. I'm stuffy today, but so that relaxing and calming things turn our attention away from food. So that's not our outlet. Imagine if the stress hits, the anxiety hits, and you're able to kind of snap yourself into a new habit, right? We're identifying those habits. We've seen things that we've done in the past, and we're saying we want to go a new way. We want to be set free. We want to be set apart. We want to go a different way. So meditation, scripture, prayer cards, anything like that, yoga, that just centers you again. Another thing I love to do personally, and I find a lot of connection, I've read so much research about resetting the biome in your gut. It's not what this is about, but going outside, I love to take my shoes off and walk in the grass. And I think part of that takes me back to childhood. It takes me back to a kind of a carefree period of time. All right, so we've covered sad eating. We've covered stress and anxiety eating. Let's cover that third most often trigger emotion, That's angry eating. I had a little bit of that going on this weekend. We had a lot of stress and turmoil in the house. But when we stuff our anger down with food, it doesn't get rid of our anger. It often makes that anger turn inward. So we might have been angry or upset with the behavior of our child, or angry or upset with our spouse, or angry or upset about a situation. And then all of a sudden we're angry and upset about ourselves and the choices that we made. It is not a good cycle to be in. So when we stuff, we just bury it. We deny it. Remember, we've talked a little bit about buffering our emotions. We avoid really feeling them, and they will keep popping up. So what's a healthy alternative to anger eating? So this is another one. This is when, if you take 10 minutes, walk away, reposition yourself. I love to lock myself in the bathroom. I feel like sometimes it's the only place I can go where someone's not going to bother me. But if you can go for a walk, grab the dog. If you have a pet, that is honestly one of my favorite parts about having a dog. He's my escape route. I can take him for a walk. We get 10 minutes alone at least. You could just go up to your bedroom, whatever. Ask yourself these following questions. And again, even if maybe you're angry and you're home alone, maybe something happened while you were dropping the kids off, come home, grab your tracker. Or maybe you're at work, grab your tracker, grab a piece of paper and a pencil, again with that connection. But I want you to write down what happened today that might have made me angry. Okay, what happened? What was it? Why did that event stir up such angry feelings? I had a friend who used to say, what is the emotion behind the emotion? Sometimes it's not just that I'm angry, but what am I really angry about, right? And that's when you start to make progress. What do I need? And number 3, what do I need to do in order to let go of this anger and feel more peaceful? So that is something that you want to think about, capturing those thoughts, resetting the tone. And again, with anger eating, a lot of those same solutions are going to work. Breathing, calming yourself, replacing that with a new habit, going a different way, just redirecting, putting on some happy music. A lot of times for me, it's not that the opposite of angry is happy, but changing that kind of in my spirit, right? Putting on either praise and worship, or I have a happy playlist. It's mostly kids songs because those are really fun. Changing that tune. I wanted to show you, I'm looking for blank paper. Here we go. The last thing I would say about emotions, and this is going to come out backwards, I just realized that. So CTFAR, if you remember when we started, again, I'm sorry this is backwards, but C is that circumstance. Remember we talked about the fact that a circumstance is simply a fact that you cannot change, okay? Let's take anger, for example. The circumstance might have been your husband forgot your birthday, all right? And the thought might have been, he is so insensitive. He never thinks of me, okay? The feeling might have been anger, okay? And the action in the past, because we're moving towards that woman that we're becoming, right? The action in the past was to go make a bowl of ice cream and just in anger eat that ice cream, right? Stuff down those feelings. And the result, what's the result? Guilt, shame, you pull away, you don't lean in, you pull away, you distance yourself from him, which creates that thought. Remember, the result always wants to prove the thought true. So the result is, he just doesn't care about me, right? What about if we write a new story, okay? This is something, if you will try to do this process in your tracker, when you hit anger, when you hit sadness, when you hit anxiety, when you hit stress, when you hit those emotions, you've already identified the F line, okay? So let's go back to that anger. So the feeling was anger, right? The circumstance was my husband forgot my birthday. Let's make the same circumstance, my husband forgot my birthday. What do we have the power to change, right? This is a mindset program. What do we have the power to change? The only thing we have the power to change is our thought about the circumstance. What if, and this is where I would challenge you, this isn't going to be easy, but with practice, it will become simple, okay? What if the thought was, he's doing the best he can, right? What if that was the thought? If that was the thought about that circumstance, the feeling might be forgiveness. The feeling might be kindness. The feeling might be okay. The feeling might be peace. And then the action is going to be going about your day as normal. The action is going to be maybe you buy your own birthday present. Maybe the action is you make a birthday cake and you celebrate with the family, and the result is joy. The result is happiness. The result is no mindless eating. And that supports the thought that he's doing the best he can, right? We all want to think that other people think that of us, that we're doing the best we can. I want you to see that this simple, free tool, when paired with the other habits that we just talked about, can break the cycle of emotional eating. It doesn't have to be permanent for you. It won't be permanent for you. We are able to take our thoughts captive and renew them. I often say that we renew them with the help of God, right? That's how we take those thoughts and we make them a new creation. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope we're on time too. If you have comments, if you have questions, comment below, but I want to know, what version of emotional eating do you wrestle with most? Again, this is sharing, this is being vulnerable. Is it excited eating? Is it like stepping into those emotional happy zones that you just can't stop eating the birthday cake? Is it anxiety and stress eating? Is it anger eating? Do you have some anger stuff that's just been steeped for a long time? Is it sadness? Are you in a period of your life where you're really wrestling with sadness eating? And then I want you also to comment below. I want you to share with me, have you tried the CTFAR method? If you have, what have you learned? And if you haven't, I want you to comment below when you will try that. I want to know. The last question I have for you, there's always homework, right? I want you to share below. This is a lot of sharing. Sharing is caring. Sharing is how we grow. But I want you to share below what ways that you've tried in the past to break the cycle. Have you tried breathing? Have you tried going for a walk? Have you tried burning a candle and taking some time out? Have you tried journaling? Comment below, and we are gonna build on this, because ladies, when we can make progress in this, we make progress in every facet of our life. I guarantee you, relationships will blossom, the scale will go down, your internal happiness will rise, and things will be different. And I am so excited for that level of freedom for you.